Hello Cloud Gurus! Welcome to another episode of GCP This Month. I'm Tim Scholes, bringing you all the latest announcements about Google Cloud. In this episode, our Quick Bite segment includes new stuff from machine learning products, Cloud Spanner, and more. In our GCP Gems segment, we'll look at some research company announcements and dive into GCP's awesome new container-native load balancing for GKE. And of course, we'll finish things off with another winner in our Guru of the Month segment. So let's get started. Here's something that came in just after we recorded last month's episode. Virtual display devices for Compute Engine are now generally available. These work with any VM on GCP, including both Windows and Linux machines, to let you attach a remote display for administration or whatever. These are simpler VGA devices, so they're not as powerful as GPUs are, but they are a lot less expensive. These new virtual displays are free. Google has just beefed up its service level agreement for Cloud Spanner to include even single node instances. Now, regardless of how many nodes you provision, you'll get the same 4 nines and 5 nines availability for regional and multi-regional instances, respectively. Google can offer this because each regional Cloud Spanner node is actually replicated in 3 different availability zones. And each multi-region Cloud Spanner node has 5 or more replicas behind it. Cloud Spanner has also received a number of functional improvements. You can now import and export data in CSV format, no longer just in Apache Avro. There's also a new Google-supported open source JDBC driver. Plus, you can now see more detailed information about Cloud Spanner's CPU utilization, as well as P50 and P99 latency graphs at both the database and instance levels. You'd be surprised by how many people do get excited by P99 latency graphs. Google's Video Intelligence API, their pre-trained machine learning model that can tell you what's in your videos, has now been updated to recognize over 100,000 different logos from popular businesses and organizations. This can support different use cases you might have around branding or ad placement, and might help you avoid dropping down to a more manual machine learning option. If the pre-trained Video Intelligence API still can't handle what you need, then you might choose to use AutoML Video, Google's product to make it easy for you to train your own models for video content. And if you do, then you'll be happy to hear that Google has just added object tracking support to this. You can track multiple objects across multiple frames, which could be useful for things like traffic analysis, robot vision, and more. Now, the AutoML products still do their work on Google servers, but some situations call for device-level processing instead. That's where something like AutoML Vision Edge comes in. Now, this already has support for classifying images directly on devices running Android, iOS, and more. But Google has just added support for object detection too. The announcement blog post has an impressive video of this in action in an augmented reality smartphone app for trying on jewelry. Check it out. Google has just announced the beta release of Security Health Analytics, which plugs into Cloud SCC, the Cloud Security Command Center, to help you identify and fix misconfigurations and compliance violations in your GCP environments. Security Health Analytics runs scans every 12 hours and supports findings like open firewalls and public buckets. But it can also notice users without two-factor authentication enabled, poorly managed API keys, IP forwarding enabled on instances, and much more. Google has just released to GA some huge networking improvements that came into beta at Google Cloud Next 19 in San Francisco. 100 gigabit per second dedicated interconnect and high availability VPN. This offers 10 times the previous capacity for interconnects, and the HA VPN's 99.99% SLA is industry leading. Google has now gone into general availability with their container functionality for Kubernetes Engine for both Ubuntu and container-optimized OS nodes. While most of us never need to dig this far down into GKE, those who do should be very happy indeed with its improved and standardized debugging tools. But now, let's dig a bit deeper into the next announcements. Our first gem is actually a combination of announcements. This month included a number of updated Forrester Wave and Gartner Magic Quadrant reports. In case these are new to you, Gartner and Forrester Research are two large organizations that put in a lot of effort to evaluate different technologies and publish their findings. Now, they format their reports differently, but in both cases, the best thing is to be labeled a leader. You might have seen in the past how GCP has been named a leader for things like infrastructure as a service and public cloud storage. But this month has Google showing very strongly in even more categories. In Gartner's Magic Quadrant for full lifecycle API management, Google's Apigee has been named a leader for the fourth consecutive time. Apigee may not be the right fit for every API, but it is a very featureful and compelling offering for many enterprises. Gartner gives Apigee the very top mark for its ability to execute and close to the top for completeness of vision. Google was also named a leader in the Forrester Wave for streaming analytics. Here the combination of Cloud PubSub and Cloud Dataflow is tied for the strongest strategy, and this current offering is considered strong enough to rate as one of the overall leaders. But one of the most impressive results is how GCP's relatively new Cloud Build product outperformed all other options in the Forrester Wave for continuous integration platforms. Cloud Build was at the top of the CI rankings for both strategy and current offerings, coming ahead of Microsoft, Amazon, GitLab, Atlassian, CodeFresh, CircleCI, BuildKite, Travis CI, and CloudBees, the makers of Jenkins. If you've been frustrated by any of those other CI platforms, maybe it's time you check out Code Build. Another awesome thing that came through right after we recorded last month's episode was the general availability release of container native load balancing. This is a big deal because it eliminates a whole layer and a lot of potential latency in your service communication. This functionality actually goes a bit deeper than just GKE too. So let me explain. Previously, for load balancing, you would group compute engine instances into instance groups and register those with your load balancer. This would also happen for your GKE node instances, so that all of your GKE nodes would get traffic. But now GCP supports setting up and registering NEGs, network endpoint groups instead. Each NEG can contain up to 10,000 endpoints, and each endpoint is a private IP address and port number. So now GKE will register your pods directly by their IP address and port number, completely bypassing the node instance layer. Now, if every node is running exactly one pod for each service, then this doesn't make much of a difference. But in the real world, when pods are not always perfectly balanced, the impact can be quite dramatic. Let's say that one node is running 2 pods for a service and another node is running none. When traffic is balanced across those 2 nodes, the node running no pods will get half the traffic, but won't be able to do anything with it, except send all of it along to the node that's running 2 pods. This is slow and inefficient. But when the pods themselves are a native part of load balancing, traffic goes directly to where it should. There's a great animation in the blog post that demonstrates this visually. And this brings us to the funnest part of the show, our Guru of the Month. This month's winner is Suman Chakrabarti, a senior DevOps engineer from Bengaluru, Karnataka, India. Congratulations, Suman. We'll be sending you a care package including a t-shirt, some stickers, and a hand-signed card. And everyone else, make sure you check out this month's new question, available at the link below. Well, that about wraps up our show for this month. Check back next month for more announcements on another episode of GCP this month. Keep being awesome, Cloud Gurus.